everyone. This is InsideFlix, and this is our weekly box office report. It was a big weekend for Hollywood. Oscar parties aplenty and big stars, but at the box office, it seems there was only one real killer or winner, Ghostface. Rich, tell us which films placed in the top 5 this past weekend.
Like you mentioned, Scream 6 came in number 1 with $44.4 million. Coming in number 2 is Creed 3 with $27.2 million. Number 3 is 65 with $12.3 million. Number 4 is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with $7.1 million. And round of the top 5 is Cocaine Bear with $6.2 million.
Yeah, so I was expecting Scream 6 to open bigger than Creed 3. Perhaps that was just wishful thinking. But nevertheless, it was a huge first week number for Scream 6, the best opening in the franchise so far. And I think it proves once again that horror films and horror film franchises are consistently bringing in money for movie studios. What is your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you, I was expecting the movie to open just a little bit higher, but still a great number. I mean, you can't really complain when it's a franchise best. Looking at the top 5, though, I mean, it's solid enough. The real surprise for me, though, is 65. I thought that movie was going to open much lower than it did, and I think the 12.3 for the Adam Driver vehicle is, while definitely not good for that movie, which looks pretty expensive, it's overall much better than what everybody in the industry was expecting this movie to turn in. And I don't know if that's good or bad.
It had a last-minute push by Adam Driver, so I guess it worked a little bit. I mean, it could have been a lot worse for 65.
The one thing you can say is that the 65 really didn't have much marketing at all.
Yeah.
So the fact that it came in slightly higher than expected is a positive, I think.
65, there wasn't that much of an audience for this in general. The cinema score was C+. So, yeah, critic-wise, it did much poorer. But some audience members did enjoy it. It got a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes on the audience score. But it's still not enough to, give it a good run.
I've seen a number of critics say that the movie is surprisingly watchable. It's just underwhelming, but not necessarily bad.
Well, to go back to Scream, I have to admit that when Scream 5 came out last year, I thought it was a dumb idea. I thought, who would care about this old, tired franchise? But boy, I couldn't have been more wrong. And it really seems like younger millennials and Gen Zers have not only developed a real love for the Scream films, but also a love with these last 2 films. And I guess the last 2 films kind of reflect that with the new characters and the new cast members.
Well, I have a little bit of a theory with Scream, because I've kind of just noticed over the years that kind of Ghostface and Chucky, I feel, have kind of become like the new kind of prominent horror figures, taking over. When I was a little kid, it was Freddy and Jason. Those were the big icons.
Yeah.
And I feel like kind of Ghostface and Chucky have taken over it. I think in big part because Freddy and Jason were very much kind of 80s characters, and then Chucky kind of got revamped in the 90s with Bride of Chucky, and I think that's kind of become the kind of go-to Chucky movie. And Ghostface has just been super popular in the 90s. I think they've become the new kind of gateway into horror for young kids.
Yeah, I would agree on that.
And and the fact that they're not bringing back Neve Campbell, I think that turned off a lot of fans. So I think this number could have actually been higher. I think if they brought back Neve Campbell, they could have maybe brought back some of the OG fans, because I know a lot of original Scream fans that actually did not turn out for this movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but let's not forget that this whole revamping was because of the success of Halloween. Was it 2018? The first
Yes.
one? Yeah, this whole thing is all thanks to that relaunching of that franchise. And then Scream, the first reboot last year was the overwhelming success too. And then this one's just got better. So unlike Halloween 2 and 3 with the last one.
Well, I think as millennials and Gen Zers become more of the target audience, and Gen Xers are becoming less targeted. And I think we're going to see a lot more debates and battles between these franchises. And they're turning to the 90s, and I think that's going to be a real battlefield of older audiences and younger audiences trying to claim this kind of trying to claim who has the right to this
to be the real fan.
Yeah, yes.
Well, just, looking at the Scream franchise, if they just continue just turning out good movies, not necessarily great movies, but good movies, I think that's enough. If they don't go like too off board, like, the Star Wars franchise or the Halloween franchise, then I think everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think we could all agree that what makes Scream franchise so special is not just the Ghostface killer, who's like this iconic villain, but also like the whodunit aspect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's a little gimmicky, but yeah.
I could argue that the Scream franchise is a lot better at the whodunit genre than, say, Glass Onion, the Rian Johnson's franchise.
I'd say they're actually about the same, but I have more fun with a Scream movie.
Okay.
Well, let's go. Let's talk about Creed. The second week, dropping 53%, but coming in strong with 27 million. I mean, over 27 million. That's not bad for this franchise, and overall, it's made over 100 millions, and that's a great
really
accomplishment.
Good, yeah. I mean, it is interesting that it had kind of a superhero movie drop, but it still managed to have a good drop. 53 solid, and it looks like the movie will stick around for a few more weeks in the top 5.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Let's get into the rest of the top 10, Rich.
Okay, coming in number 6 is Champions. Number 7 is Jesus Revolution. Number 8 is Avatar: The Way of Water. Number 9 is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And then coming in number 10 is Operation Fortune.
Very disappointing number for Champions. I think the only positive thing that you can really say about it is that this might have had even less marketing than 65.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like when you have Jesus Revolution open to such a strong number last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it debuted, this is disappointing, man, because Champions has truly a great cast. And while it's not getting glowing reviews, the actual people that went to go see it are like giving it, high praise. And,
it earned a cinema score of A, and also in Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 95% audience score. Critic-wise, like you said, 55%. So yeah, it's totally opposite.
I don't know, critics are funny.
All right, let's look ahead to the new releases. Rich, tell us what movies are coming out in theaters this week.
Open up wide this weekend is Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the new highly anticipated DC superhero sequel in which Zachary Levi is back to star as a superhero alter ego of teenage Billy Batson. Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu also co-star as two powerful ancient gods, while West Side Story's Rachel Zegler joins the cast as the daughter of Atlas.
All right, Shazam is the only big release this week. Raymond, you're a big DC guy. What's your feelings about this movie?
Well, yeah, I am a big DC fan, and I really loved the first Shazam movie, and I've been looking forward to this movie a lot. But I'm not going to lie, the trailers for this movie haven't been great. They haven't been bad, but they haven't really done anything to get me, super excited for this movie, to the point that I actually haven't even bought my ticket for this yet.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think it's going to do well. I really don't. And I think, unfortunately, the failure of Black Adam isn't helping things. You know what I mean? If Black Adam was a success, and, I think things would be looking better for this movie. But I think Black Adam just ended up hurting it. I don't know. I really don't think the movie's going to do well. I think it's projected to open to about the same that the first Shazam opened to, which I think was like 50 million. This has, I think, doubled the budget, unfortunately. So, I think it's going to do that. I think it's going to do what people are expecting. 50 million, maybe, unfortunately, maybe 40 or 45, but around there. 40 to 50.
I think the early studio predictions were kind of pretty low. I think the recent announcement of James Gunn and his take on the DCU or the DCEU has maybe hurt this movie a little bit, just because it feels like almost like a stepchild. It doesn't feel like it has any kind of room to grow, or it's kind of just a leftover of a bygone franchise. But
I agree with you, Mike. But at the same time, like, what if this James Gunn DC thing wasn't happening? Because at the same time, I always thought that the people that like look at all this movie news and stuff like us, that we're kind of like in a bubble, basically. Yeah. So, like, do general audiences know about that? Maybe this movie just doesn't have that much excitement going on surrounding it.
Yeah,
maybe. It could be either one. I really don't know. But regardless, it looks like it's not going to be doing well.
All right, let's move into limited release. Rich, what movies are coming out in limited?
Opening up on limited release this weekend is Moving On, a darkly comedic revenge film from filmmaker Paul Weitz. Grace and Frankie stars Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin play two estranged friends who plan to murder the husband of their recently deceased best friend. Also opening is Inside. This is a one-man psychological drama in which Willem Dafoe plays a professional burglar who finds himself trapped inside a fancy New York penthouse with no obvious means of escaping. Also opening is Full River Red, the new Chinese historical epic from renowned Chinese director Zhang Yimou.
All right, and how about streaming? Rich, what can people stream this weekend?
Streaming this weekend on Hulu will be Boston Strangler, the true crime thriller starring Keira Knightley and Carrie Coon as the journalists who broke the news of the infamous Boston Strangler murders in the 1960s. Also premiering on Sunday on HBO Max is All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, an Oscar-nominated documentary about the life of photographer and activist Nan Goldin.
All right, that was it for this week. A box office report. Thank you for watching InsideFlix. We'll be back next week. We'll see how well Shazam 2 does in the theaters. We'll also talk about the new movies coming out next week. Bye-bye. Take care.